that's just continuing to focus on the people we're serving. For us, COVID was probably, and I know that's not necessarily what you're talking about, but that is a lot of what people were talking about over the course of the last year, year and a half. Curtis can talk. I mean, there was a point in time there when they were actually talking about doing the shutdown. There was a week where it was crickets, and you just didn't know what was going to happen. After that, it exploded. It just blew up. Interest rates were extremely low. The government started printing money. People started moving to our small communities. If you remember back during that time, there was also civil unrest in some of the bigger cities, and everybody realized what a lot of us have been saying for a long time: this is truly the greatest place in the world to live. And so now everybody's figuring that out. For us, it was just a continuation of serving our people and putting them first. So we didn't necessarily have to do any real adaptation.
So, like Jackie said, we have a asphalt dump trucking paving company. So you see Randolph County roads get paved in city streets. That's us. Chicago's Pizza, Winchester, haven't tried it yet. Step out, try it. Matt and I stepped out and opened a restaurant in the middle of the pandemic. That was interesting. And my wife now is no longer a dental hygienist. She runs Bogey's Ice Cream that we bought 4 years ago. So out of those three businesses, each uniquely different, but the same as in they all require employees, right? And in these times when the government's handing out money for people not to work, it was really hard to retain, and retention of employees. So one of the biggest things that Matt and I discussed, and my wife and I discussed, was there's two reasons that people stay where we're at, and those are company culture and pay. And we're willing to pay all we can to keep the doors open, but we're willing to take our company culture to the next level. As in, one of the things that I was talking a minute ago was I had a Chicago's owners meeting in Greenwood the other day. So there's 20 Chicago's locations, and one of the topics in the beginning of the meeting was the first half hour of these meetings is Bible study. So it was really cool, and one of the questions that the founder asked was, when people walk into Chicago's Pizza, what sets us apart from Pizza Hut? Why is it warm and inviting? Why is there joy and laughter? So the statement I wrote down was, how do we represent a Christian company without putting a cross on the sign, right? So what I instantly wrote down underneath that, what they're still talking about, is how is Chick-fil-A represent a Christian view? Because Chick-fil-A is like the new McDonald's, right? It's the most talked about fast food industry. The line is never ending, and you walk in, you always feel like, man, that was a great experience. So how do we duplicate what Chick-fil-A does in our own way? And we're out of the answer yet. We're working on it. But we talk to our people at Chicago's and Bodie's all the time about company culture. When somebody drives up to the window, you smile. First thing you can do is smile, and the last thing you can do is tell them to have a great day. So we start with those things. And so employee retention, and to kind of get back to your question before I get off on the tyrant, but is employee retention and pay, company culture. Those are our answers for it.
This will probably be like herding squirrels here, because Gabe and I are probably both going to go off on tangents. We'll probably be both that good. The thing that he hit on that I would say is important in every season of businesses, the people you surround yourself with. During the pandemic or any other time leading up to the pandemic or after the pandemic, our people are there all the time. I mean, we just don't deal with turnover. We don't deal with people got drunk on Sunday and don't come in on Monday. We just don't deal with that. And it's our people. I mean, they're just incredible. And it's surrounding yourself with the right people, not just to work with you in the company. It's the people that care about you outside of the company, and are always seeking to guide you and be a part of keeping you on track. And so, I mean, people, it all comes down to people. It's just all it is.
And I forgot to mention at the beginning, if you guys have any questions, feel free to interject and ask me. We're pretty informal and casual. So I kind of wanted to ask Gabe, you guys opened, you mentioned, you know, you and Matt opening a restaurant in a pandemic. I mean, that was a pretty tough industry and has been, and they've continued to struggle. So what led you guys to do that?
Well-
Crazy or?
Well, yeah, that's it.
We're not very smart.
20% crazy.
We're not very smart.
Yeah, that's kind of like, yeah. So I don't, pizza's easy. I feel like pizza's way easier than, restaurant food, bar food. I mean, they've not been the bogeys, our menu out there is gigantic. If you can't find something you like, just say it, we'll make it, right? But at pizza, we felt like pizza's really simple. And do we already have enough pizza places in Winchester? Absolutely, we do. And that's the biggest, feedback we got was, oh, great, another pizza place. Why couldn't we have another like, right? But we were trying to bring, number one, life to the downtown. And we still have major plans for that. We have outdoor seating coming. You know, we're going to put a nice patio out there in the summer, and you can be able to sit outside and have a glass of wine and a pizza and be on the square. So that's pretty cool, and we want that. The movie theater, you know, was already there, so we just were trying to take it and make it better and try to keep it open. Anybody that bought a movie theater in the pandemic was probably pretty goofy too. Because you can't go in anywhere without 6 feet, and movie seats are about a foot apart. So, but as far as the pizza goes, we felt like it was the simplest thing to do. Simple's not the right word. We felt like it fit, and we could make it work. And then me having a little background in the food industry, I thought, well, I'll just take the policies and procedures we've got out here at Bogey's, and implement them here. And Matt's biggest fear was are we going to get people that work? We're going to get employees. And when we opened up the hiring process, which was a new guy in town, we ended up with 58, I think, applications before we just shut it off and said, hey, we're going to take the best of the best here that we can. And then, you know, we hired, I think, 42 of those. And since then, we've lost some. You know, we knew that that they would weed themselves out, you know, things work themselves out, the people that were going to stay rooted would stay, and the ones that, and so we've got a really good core group of people now. We have a great manager that we brought up that was a waitress for 14 years that had aspirations of always starting and owning her own store, so it's a hybrid of that, and she gets to do that without putting any of the finances involved, and now she's a manager, and we made her she shares the profits. So, you know, we don't bring our people in and say, hey, look, you're sky's the limit. You show initiative and willing to keep us starting to pay, and then you also want to share the profits with us.
I would just like to add to that, because you know it's interesting. You talk about doing something crazy in Denver, but what they did is they set themselves apart from everybody else. Everybody else is shutting down. So again, who was everybody talking about through the pandemic? It was Chicago's, right? And on top of that is they brought great service and a great product. And so I tell everybody here, because now there's talk of, you know, we might be going into recession and interest rates are going up, inflation, blah, blah, blah. Again, the same thing is that you have to have courage to be in business, and you have to be able to take some risk, calculated risk, and I know that they took the calculated risk there. So again, but I challenge everybody is that it's easy to do what everybody else is doing through those times. The ones that get rewarded are the ones that figure out how they can actually expand or come into a situation and make it better. So I just want to commend them for doing it, because when everybody else is crazy, I think it's genius.
What did you say yesterday in the hallway? What did you say yesterday in the hallway?
Yeah, so I want to build on this. So I spent a lot of time thinking about change and adaptation and trying to time. So Gabe and I talked yesterday. There's a guy that you may or may not have heard of called Warren Buffett. When others are greedy, be fearful. When others are fearful, be greedy. So when everybody else is, oh my God, the sky is falling, and they're selling their stocks, he's like, bring them to pile. You know, just I'll buy. You know, and that's it. So the people that are successful never follow other people. We're called leaders for a reason. You lead. You when everybody else is shaking, you're like, now's the time to act. And I wrote down 3 companies that just stick out in my mind that are proof of this. Apex Ag, right? You can't do manufacturing in a small town You know, you just can't do it. I don't know if anybody knows it, but they bought an old middle school and completely renovated it. Greg was a huge part of that, and it was so fun. We walked in there with Torrey Hunt. He did not see anything that was there. He seen what it was going to be. He had a vision. The Bible says where there is no vision, the people perish. He had a vision. And I guarantee you everybody thought he was crazy. I guarantee you. I don't know if anybody realizes it, but the last 10 or 15 years, for some reason, our people are just succeeding. You know, it started with Errol Clem and the investment he made in that. I'm sure he was a fool, you know, when he started this housing complex. I've heard it. I've heard it from people that were high up in our community that they thought he was nuts. Well, now you've got Mark and Eric that are doing a tremendous job. And what are they doing? They're investing. Right? And then you've got Carvantage. I mean, Casey, you can't make it as just a one-off, you know, used car sales. I mean, you're crazy. You can't do it. So now he has a garage. Now he's bought Tom's Collision, and he does repair work. He's investing in a small community and continues to grow when everybody else is like, well, you can't invest in a small community because you just can't make it. And to start a restaurant during a pandemic, when you can't hire people, people can't come in and eat, okay, let's do it. You know what I mean? We're never thought to be intelligent. I mean, but we just don't follow what everybody else is doing. That's when the opportunities are there. And so, yeah, that was our discussion yesterday, because you're right, Steve. I mean, that, when I think about changing adaptation in trying times, it's acting completely different than everybody else.
So what would you guys say the core principles, or what has to be true for you to be able to pivot and make those changes when it's needed? What allows you to be able to do that?
You want to start?
Good.
Yeah.
I didn't ask that question, okay?
I think you always have to be looking forward. You know, I mean, the thing that we have been talking about with our agents at Tarter Realty for probably 2 years is that realtors will become obsolete within the next 10 years. If you're just unlocking doors and showing people houses, Zillow is going to make you obsolete. You have to be a true real estate professional. You have to provide value. But you can't wait until that happens. You have to be forward thinking. Once again, where there is no vision, people perish. You have to have vision. You have to be studying what's going on. You can't wait until it's raining, you know, to buy an umbrella. I mean, you have to be prepared. And you just always have to be surrounding yourself with the right people. You got to work really hard.
So that's what I was thinking, and you hit it right there at the end, was keep your group small, right? That you bring into your circle, but make your circle people, like he said, be around the right people. You're around the key people. I mean, if you're not around the right people, if you know the people that are in your circle aren't the right ones, go run to a different one as fast as you can, and just bump into them. Hey, was your name Steve James? Nice to meet you. I'm Gabe Bogue. I want to talk to you. Can I buy you a coffee? I mean, don't be afraid to get told no. That was my biggest thing. I was never afraid of no. I mean, we built a gym 9 years ago, and everybody said they'll never make it. Randolph County, and we built a 24-hour fitness center, you know, and I operated it for 8 years and sold it. But and the trucking is what I wrote down. So I started my first trucking company in 2002, and it was GBT, and we were semis. I had one semi, and I went to the county highway, shoveling stone onto the tar, right? So I sprayed the tar, but I thought, well, I'm only 19, I can't run out of state yet. I am in the semi, and I drove it moonlighting in Palm Green. And I thought, well, I could hire a guy, and he could drive this, because I know how to run that, and I could still go shovel stone for $11 an hour. And so that's what I did. And then so we operated the trucking company, and it was kind of a very, very small operation. up to 7 semis at one time. And then as I own the gym and I'm training clients and the trucking company was migrating to, gets back to your question, trying times. So 08, 09, 07, that era was really tough. And GM actually asked me to cross picket lines. I was hauling GM product, right? Long story short, they didn't take me. And put me in a terrible financial situation. We recovered from, and then here came in 2000, I want to say 14, 15, 16, somewhere in there, here came the ELD mandate. So the ELD mandates electronic logging devices, right? So my guys run paper logs. If they run produce, run a lot of produce out of Florida, and we bring it back up here to Kroger's and other stores, watermelons, sweet corn, all that stuff, we would haul back up here. If I had a driver that was unloading in Yorktown, which used to be a big produce area, and he needed to get home, he could still get home even though he was quote out of hours. Well, according to the ELD mandate, if he's out of hours, he has to stop in Yorktown, even if he lives in Winchester, shut the truck down for 10 hours and sleep there. So he can't go and see his family. So we didn't like that idea, and was it a gray area? Sure, super gray. It's the law. The law is you run 55 miles an hour. 56 is speeding, but it's gray, right? So it's still breaking the law. So we were still breaking the law to get that driver home, but we weren't willing to say, look, we're not going to face massive fines. We don't want to have an accident and then look back at our log and say we got that liability hanging out there. So we decided to, at that time, dive in the dump truck business. So I drove a dump truck for a Teamsters company in Richmond and kind of saw the industry. And we bought a 1980 Mack R model Sidewinder dump truck, and my dad drove it, no air conditioning. And he said, I want to try this. So we kept a couple semis. We bought this 1980 Mack 6 years ago, 5 years ago, somewhere in there. And I remember looking at him in farmland, and my dad's 74 now, still drives. But he was laying out in the grass beside ditch when they had a break because he was so hot. He was tired and hot, and the pavement and the asphalt's 300-some degrees in the bed, so you don't get away from the heat, right? And when we saw the industry had a massive shortage of dump trucks. I mean, every company was calling for dump trucks, and they couldn't get them. So we went and bought another one. So then we grew from 1 to 2, and then the following year 2 to 4, and then 4 to 6, 6 to 12. And now we operate 21 dump trucks and 2 semis, right? So we pivoted. That was your question. How do you pivot in trying times? We saw the ELD mandate and what it was going to do to us. We weren't willing to cheat far enough into that gray area to say, hey, liability, we want to stick our neck out. So we want to go to dump trucks where it was an hourly pay, and our guys are home. We still have the drivers. We're still in the same industry. We just made a lateral movement.
On the pivot, I sit here and I think of Natalie. I just talked about how Zillow is going to put realtors out of business. You guys have been dealing with the online insurance companies for a long time. It's something that's new to us, but by providing value, the good insurance companies succeed. They thrive, and that's the thing. It's about adding value. And I know that we kind of started this off talking about COVID, but what's interesting to me is Natalie in the insurance industry has been dealing with change. Gabe's talking about the logging mandate back in 2014. There's always going to be trying times. Last year it was COVID, this year it's Ukraine, Russia, next year it's going to be inflation. I mean, there will be a new war to fight every year. And it's people that I think embrace that. So Gabe and I talked yesterday. I don't even like to use the word problem solvers because that's a negative connotation. We're solution finders. Anybody that runs a business is always finding solutions. And you're looking ahead. You're just finding solutions. And I've told my kids, if you want to make more money, learn to solve bigger problems. If you go out here and serve one person a hamburger today, you will get paid for the value of serving one person a hamburger. McDonald's is probably going to make more money because they're solving a bigger problem. They're feeding a lot of people. And so, but Ray Kroc didn't sit back and go, oh my God, serving 10 people today is hard. There ain't no way we can serve millions. No, he said, how can I? That's the thing we talk about in our family all the time is it's not you can't, it's how can I? And always be finding solutions. How can I do it?
statement closes the mind, a question opens the mind. So if I tell you you cannot do something, your mind just kind of shuts down and goes, I can't. If I say, Tanya, how can you? Immediately your mind starts thinking about answering my question. So it goes into a solution mindset. And that's the thing that I think every leader, successful leader does, is they stay in a solution mindset mentality. I mean, when the logging things happen, you go, can't do trucking anymore, we'll just have to shut it down. You say, how can I?
Yeah, and so another note that I wrote down alongside that prior to even coming in here today was, so if you don't have any resistance ever, you can't grow, right? So when I was a personal trainer, resistance, I mean, that's, so that's force resistance, right? So I walk in the gym this morning at 5:15, it's not fun, but it's forced resistance, and there's a direct result of that resistance on my body when I leave, right? So that exercise is stress on the body. You stress your body, but it breaks things down and it builds back stronger. It's no different than in your business. And Cian could probably attest this. When we built the gym, the Y made us better, and we made the Y better. They were forced to not only be the only game in town anymore, and we had to be able to compete with a quote-unquote non-for-profit to be able to stay open. So we made each other better. We complement each other. And does it feel like competition in a moment? Sure it does. But at the end, if you look at the bigger picture, we were bettering Randolph County as a whole because the Y grew because we came, right? And we grew because the Y did things different. And so resistance in your business, and when another pizza place pops up, well, I like it. Nope, I'm sure they didn't like it when Chicago's came in, but we will get better for it. If another dump truck company comes in, how do I secure what I have? I don't go and just try to hoard everything. How do I secure my contacts and continue my relationships where, you know, they call me when they need stone, they call me when they want their driveways paved or their roads paved. So I had resistance on the body is no different than resistance on your business. If you don't have resistance, you're like a pond that doesn't have circulation. It becomes the water stagnant, right? And then what's a pond look like after stagnant water? Terrible growth, but there's movement all the time. And so when trying times come, and the Bible tells you, you always go back to biblical, but blessing doesn't come without persecution, right? So when you're being persecuted, you should be like, oh, here it comes, because I'm getting ready to get blessed, right? So you should, when someone's talking about you, it's going the wrong way, you should just be like, in the back of your mind, here we go. It's getting ready to pop off here because the Bible says it and it doesn't lie, right? And another scripture I wrote down that goes along with that, and this came up, I brought this up at Chicago's meeting, was and Stephen Furtick. I don't know if you guys listen to Stephen Furtick, he's awesome, but he's a young preacher, but he said, you know, if we were created to just walk through life without any resistance, then why did God say, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death? Why didn't he say, well, walk around it, right? He intended for you to go through things. He intended for you to come out of the other end stronger. So the pandemic or the ELD mandate or GM and the three go on strike, and I mean, I'm only 40, but I walked through some things, right, to get to where I sit today. Without that, where would I be? I worked at Anchor twice, you know, and I hats off to Anchor people, but I say all the time, Anchor's a great company, hard off. But I say, and I don't say this judgmental, but you only work at Anchor because you have to. Because my son was born about a cleft lip and palate, and I had to have the best insurance in town. So that's why I worked, you know, and it's a great place, but it takes from you every day. And so even working at Anchor, though, I used to tell people I was going to be the plant manager. So I would go on break, and when I was on break eating my lunch, they're like, why are you painting the lines in the back? I was like, well, they're training me to be plant manager. And I swear, I told these little teasers for everybody, and then so you had your 15-minute break, and then you go back out on the line, and you come back, and somebody else on break with you at lunch, and they're like, hey, what are you training for? I was like, plant manager. And so this happened for 9 months, and they post job boards, and I would sign up for every single new training job, everything. I thought, I don't want to just be, you know, and I knew I wasn't built for a factory, but if I'm going to be in there, I'm going to make it the best I can make it. And like Paul said, you can look at, we're not problem people, we're solution finders. So yeah, we identify the problem. I have a drag race board in my office, we identify the problem, and I tell Matt, I'm like, I'm tired of talking about the problem. And what's the solution? How do we fix this, right? So at Anchor, back to that, I ran the carton department. I ran group lead. I didn't even know anything about carton. I was bosses of people in carton that they were telling me how to run it. So, but I kept telling people I'd be a plant manager until Gary Jarrett finally came down and talked to me one day, like, hey, what are you telling people about plant? I was like, taking your job, Gary.
Coming after you. So, the problem and solution, where energy goes is what grows. So if you put your energy on the problem, you're gonna see problems. He talked about two things here, two separate times. Earlier, he talked about, surround yourself with the right people, and this time he talked about resistance. And my wife and I have or people that have families around them that when they're going through trying times, they feel sorry for them. They make them weaker, and my family, I know, hates me at times because we're always challenging each other, but Matt and I and Gabe and I talk all the time, iron sharpens iron. You seek that. If you're just being sympathetic with people, it allows them to be weak. But we seek that out. And as you said about working out, it's a controlled, resistance. And so you seek that out because you're getting stronger before you need that strength. And so if we're going through trying times, we're not going to go, man, Gabe, sorry about the trucking thing. Probably just, it's going to be a hard job to shut it down. No, we're going to say, Gabe, you're going to have a different problem tomorrow. What are you going to do about this? Let's find a solution. We're going to challenge each other. It's just the way we do, and that's what you have to do is surround yourself with people that are going to challenge you to grow and not just accept you failing.
So that kind of leads into my next question, and I think Gabe kind of mentioned it a little bit already, but what lesson or lessons maybe taught you how to be better at adapting? I can't imagine that you both just woke up and were good at this, right, when you were younger. So what do you think some of the best lessons were? I think about, like Haley, just starting, we just had a ribbon cutting yesterday at Midwest Miss, just starting out, what are some of those lessons that taught you how to be better at change?
So mine goes back to like early childhood. My first lessons that I remember, and not knowing that I was going to be an entrepreneur when I was 12 or 14. I got hit by a car when I was 12. Lifeline O'Reilly had a hematoma in the brain, lacerated me, broke the collarbone. Lady pizza up literally, believe it or not, thought it was a trash can, moved on and went on. Some of you guys probably remember me getting tore down, but I wasn't allowed to play football. Never allowed to take any impact back to that. Wasn't supposed to play basketball, all this stuff. And then I ended up playing basketball, loved it, it was terrible. I was like a newborn calf. I was the scrawniest thing you've ever seen, bones everywhere, and I ended up 6 foot tall as a sophomore. But I came in as a freshman weighing 85 pounds because I come off this car injury. And I ran cross country. And I was really good at cross country and never lost a meet until I started finding out that if I ate beef jerky before I ran, I would vomit, and I had an excuse to quit. So I couldn't quit unless I had a reason to quit, right? So I found that, if I eat this beef jerky, I'll get sick, and the coach would really see me puke, and I could quit, right? So I would start doing that, sabotaging myself. So I just got away from cross country. Then I got into basketball, and I come up under Chip Mahaffey's first 4 years at Winchester. And Chip Mahaffey was, in the moment, the worst human being I ever encountered. But looking back, he's the greatest coach I've ever been coached by. He knew how to get the most out of every individual on the team. And to the point where he pitted us against each other. And we went to 4 regionals, 3 semi-states, and 1 state finals, right? I left, and the only reason I know is because my younger brother became a freshman after I graduated. He told a story about a player he tried to cut for 4 years. And I was in a back brace as a freshman that came up to here and had three buckles through here, and that was while I was playing over the gym in this back brace, right? And I'm sure that looked really like this guy's going to be good. So, so I was the player that he tried to cut for 4 years, but he couldn't, and he told me the reason he couldn't because I outworked everyone. I knew that I was not the best player. I sat the bench in 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. I barely got any playing time. And then there were 26 players as a 6th grader, and there were 5 of us that made it as seniors, right? So I was one of those 5. And I was the 6th man. I was the first man off the bench, and I was still not the most talented player, and I knew I was a role player. I knew the only way I got playing time was I had to outwork everyone, because I wasn't born with that talent like that. Now my younger brother, my older brother, they had a talent, right? I mean, they could walk on the floor and do it, and I had to work to get what I had, and I'm thankful for it. So I say to everyone that talks about Chip and Happy that still has that quote unquote hate for him, I say I should write that guy thank you letter every year for who he made me as a man, because he didn't allow me to give up. He pushed me to, I didn't know I was going to cut. I didn't know, but I knew I wasn't going to play if I didn't vomit after every practice. If I didn't go home with blisters on my feet, I have scars on my hips from drills that we did. And you can't do those things he did today because parents are too involved. But my mom and dad allowed that, you know, and I look back, I'm like, geez, did you even love me? You know? But they did. They loved me enough to let me go through some things, and it brings me right back to the scripture that says, though I walk through the valley, and what if God had not let us walk through valleys? We never would succeed, because without valleys we would just be stagnant water. And so to answer your question, my motivation and drive to have more and be more started with a game, a sport, basketball. I wanted to play. I wanted to be with my peers and fit in, and that was all it came down to. So I wanted to be a part of the team, right? And I got decent grades, and I played tennis, but basketball was what I wanted to do. I wanted to do it so bad that no matter what, I was going to lay it all on the line to be a part of that program, be a part of that team. And I cling to it, and we had a super successful 4 years. You were part of that. I mean, we chartered buses, we went to state finals runs, and things that never happened in Winchester at the field house. If you didn't get there by halftime of JV game, you didn't get a seat. You know, I remember coming out as a junior playing JV. This is how Realty put me on the JV team, because he was going to prove a point as a junior. So I could have quit. Could look at it like this is humiliating. We have a lot of entitlement now, but I walked out and the stands are packed, and I'm like, man, yeah, I'm about to tear it up, you know? And I scored 31 points in a JV game before the coach finally said, hey, get in the varsity jersey, we're done playing JV. But I was just going to settle in right there. I tell all these kids that I coach now, you know, the kids are probably glad they get a break. I coach Pee Wee football and basketball, and so they go right from football to basketball, and they're like, man, I need a break for Coach Bogue, because he's a jerk. You know, I'm not a jerk. I'm like, guys, I'm going to make you better. If you stay with me, I'll make you. And I shared my story with him. Like, I was not the best player on that team, but if you keep on keeping on, you will play. The hard-nosed kids, and girls or boys, you will be on the floor. And you can take that in life. You will excel in the office, or you will excel in the factory. Good bosses and good coaches will see that. And I don't do daddy ball. My son or my daughter isn't the best player on the team. I don't start them, they don't deserve it type stuff, right? And I tell all my kids, I'm like, if you do the hustle things and you grind, your great coaches will see it, and great bosses will see that in turn. And I'll close real quick. I know you want to talk, but Amber hires 22 high school, typically girls, they bogeys every year, around 22, right? And 80% of those people she hires by default, they are athletes. They've competed in a sport. So they're used to working on as a team with other people. They're used to being reprimanded by coaches other than their parents. They're used to showing up on time or a little bit early to a job, right? So I tell them all, like, you're getting these things, these values that employers want in life. And then some of you are going to become leaders, and you're going to take this, you're going to expect that out of your people. So that's where it started for me. It started with that athletics, even though I'm the least athletic person in my family.
I think your question was about what made us have this characteristic of
Yes.
accepting application.
Yep.
For me, it was watching my parents in manufacturing. So I was born in '73, and so, you know, you start remembering certain things, probably, you know, around 8 or 10, and my parents in the '80s were always being laid off. You know, they had no control, you know, and so you had to learn to pivot, you had to learn to adapt, because this week, maybe 2 parents don't have jobs. I mean, it was hard. And so I studied, I probably studied life for a long time. And so I watched manufacturing in particular throughout my childhood, and you've seen manufacturing change throughout the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, and these people were getting let go, but it was because they got a job in manufacturing when they were 18, and they didn't evolve. Manufacturing evolved. So if you could take a 9/16 wrench and you know, put a bolt in when you were 18, that was no longer needed by the time you were 45. But they didn't grow, they didn't evolve, and so they became obsolete. Well, they're upset because the organization lets them go. The skill sets that they have are now obsolete. They're unemployed. And so you've seen that happen in manufacturing all the time back then. And I realized you have to always be upgrading your skill sets. If tomorrow my skill sets are not better than the ones I have today, I'm screwed. I mean, it's over. And that will be that way for the rest of my life. It will never change. You know, I love reverse mentoring, because these young kids, they can teach me so much about technology that I better stay up to date. You know, I'm never going to be brilliant at technology, but I'm not going to be obsolete when it comes to technology. And you guys may or not know this yet, but technology is going to be part of our future. So we better embrace it and accept that. And it's going to be different in 20 or 30 years than it is today. And so watching these manufacturing employees go through becoming obsolete, and they played the victim card and blamed the organization instead of taking responsibility that it's their responsibility to improve their skill sets. You know, I watched that happen. And so I think that for me was where I learned this. And you don't complain about change, you embrace change. You make the change. There's a guy called Grant Cardone. He says, I don't watch the news, I make the news. Well, you know, the people that are offended by change are the people that are not making the change happen, and it has a negative impact on their life. To be a leader, you're leading. You're making the change happen because it's going to benefit your organization, so you're not upset by change anymore. You're making the change happen because it's in the best interest of your organization and all the people that are working with you. And so you make it happen, and you're no longer scared of it. So I think that was it for me, watching manufacturing through the 80s and 90s.
Hey, Jackie, can I? Now, sometimes win, sometimes you learn, right? So often we think of failure or success, right? But you have to understand that the only way to get success is the failures. And they're tied together. And that's the big lesson I think that all of us should learn here is that, and again, it's not just I fail and then I'm going to succeed, right? It's I fail, I get up, I fail again, I get up, I fail again, and then I succeed. That's what success brings. And so for everybody here, you're not going to wake up one day and be successful. It is about the lessons that you learn, the losses that you have, and how they make you better, making sure that you're learning from the losses and not repeating the losses. So that's a critical aspect that I take out of that, is that too often we want to put a failure, a stigma on a failure, and a stigma on success. They're intertwined. You have to fail to succeed.
And it's funny, Steve, you talk about success. Successful people never identify themselves as successful. There is no there. You're always trying to get better. There is no there. Society deems success. Successful people never say, well, I'm successful, because then you just quit and you stop. No, you're always chasing, you know, Eddie Milet talks about, his belief is that one day he's going to die and he's going to meet God. And when he gets there, God's going to say, I want you to meet the man I designed you to be. He said, heaven is that I look just like you. Hell is that I don't look anything like you. Well, if you believe that, then as long as God gave you today, it's a gift, and he expects you to chase that person that he designed you to be. It's not about money, it's about having an impact in society and touching people. And so you're always chasing that. As long as God gave you the gift of today, you're chasing a higher being, and you're never successful. You're always chasing.
Yeah, I like that because the analogy I give my group is that we're climbing a mountain, right? Get to the base camp of the next mountain.
That's right.
And climbing that mountain to get to another base camp. And the mountains keep on getting steeper, right, as the higher you go. But again, you're always chasing that. You're never going to be at the peak of anything. And when you do, you might as well just hang it up.
Very good. Anybody else have questions for Paul or Gabe? Or anything else that just add to the conversation?
I was thinking about like mindset, you were saying what helps somebody get that mindset, right? A lot of books out there, like books on mindset and how that leads to people being innovative and they, and then grit, that hard work, as well. And, I think, I love how Gabe said that, the new fitness center made us better. But it didn't make us better until I allowed it to make us better. First, I was really mad. You know that.
I can vouch for that.
Really mad and offended, and I was playing victim card, right? And it wasn't until I shifted my mindset that I chose to say, game on, right? I'm going to make the white better, right? Because he said we made each other better. He's exactly right. You have what you have today because of, I'm a firm believer. Wasn't to that until I switched my mindset and stopped saying, woe is us, a new business, how dare they do that to the Y. It was like, and so we own all that, right? And so I've never forgotten that, the mindset, but, we choose that, right? I have to choose that, to allow that to make us better. So we can choose to pivot, or like you guys said, or we can choose to not.
Yeah, I like that. Because, I have lots of conversations about that, right? Is you want some of that competition or the aggravation, right? Because the aggravation is going to make you better, right? It's going to make you prepare. But you can't look at it in the victim mentality. It's easy to do that, right? It's the first thing is like, oh, woe is me, right? And you play that victim. And then you want to play the aggressor, right? Play the victim and I'll play the aggressor and I'll go after him. But it's how do you take that competition, right, and make each other better? And I think that's, quite honestly, that's what we're doing at Randolph County. Is we're taking, because we're all competitors in some way or shape or form, whether it's employees or whatever. But how do you take that and make all of us better? And quite honestly, that's why I'm on my crusade, right? Because if I make Randolph County better, Fred Miller's better, right? The county's better, OPG's better because of all this stuff that we have here. And I think all of you have a role to play in that as well, is that we all have to be out there talking about what Randolph County is and accepting the challenge that, what this is going to make us better.
Yeah, Chris, you had a...
Yeah, let's briefly go back to employee conversations. What are your thoughts or some practical tips, if you will, beyond pay, either how to keep your current employees or attract new ones? Because pay's not everything. Pay's not what it's today. Now maybe some, but
I'll take it. So with the dump trucking company, we have people that leave. So in the dump trucking world, there's DB, which is basically a female-owned companies, and they have first right on federal money, right? So female it's minority, black, female, Hispanic, Indian, military. White male-owned companies are the last to eat. So how do I get employees, right? So here I am, bottom feeder again, and how do I get these employees? Well, company culture, like I said, number one. So when you're out there, when we're out there, my guys, I encourage them, hey, converse, talk, have fun, like make your day. Don't be out there just grinding. Oh, another day, got another 10 hours behind me. Because my guys work 8 months a year, they work 10, 12 hours a day. They're paid overtime after 8. Out of those 22 jobs we have, the base pay this year is $32.45 an hour. Overtime after 8, right? So they can go get that at any company because the union mandates that that's our pay, their pay scale. So how do I compete when I have to pay the exact same thing? So I can't increase pay. So that's off the table. So now it's only down to company culture. So all these companies buy brand new equipment. Well, they buy brand new light dump trucks, flatbeds, and steel wheels. And they save $10,000 per truck. And I drove, and when I drove a dump truck, and I drove a semi, I love the chrome and the shiny stuff and making it look nice. Direct representation of me when I pull in somewhere, I want it to look like, well, I didn't want to get out of the truck. So I didn't want to look like the stereotypical greasy truck driver. You know, in the 70s, truck driving, in the 70s, truck driving was a prestigious thing to do, and then through the 90s and 2000s, it really dipped, and it's, you know, now you're just a steering wheel. But so how do we change that? So we wanted to change it where we want our equipment to be top of the line, the nicest stuff on the road. When we pull in, I pay for truck washes once a month at the Blue Beacon, and it costs me about an extra $1,500 a month to do that for the employees. They don't have to wash them; they can take them down there, they're washed, and they come out, they're shining, right? And then the other thing is, we didn't go with white trucks with black beds. So if you ever looked at our trucks and saw them, I have a neon green, a purple, a red, a canary yellow. My dad's is, it looks like a school bus, right? And they're all different colors. And what that allows the driver to do, or the employee to do, is, and I know this is niche specific to trucks, but I'm trying to show an example. I couldn't increase pay, so I had to change something. So what's that something you can change? Now the driver that drives the autumn leaf, it's a burnt orange with a charcoal bed, it's unique to him. That's my truck. And he's proud of it, and he shines on it and polishes it. And so what I was saying was, we have other companies, drivers that try to come to work for us at DBE. They're going to work it's all start times. Every 6 minutes another truck comes out. So the first truck starts at 5:30 a.m. and 6 minutes late, 6 minutes a truck comes through to load asphalt, right? So if there's 20 trucks ahead of me, I'm that many minutes out, right? So if you come to work for me, you're going to be starting a minimum 30 minutes later on your pay. Why would you come to work for me? And I asked him, I was like, hey, why are you applying for me? I work for the company you're working for now. Why would you want to work for me? You guys have fun. You guys are upbeat. Nobody complains. Everybody just does their job, and I love your equipment. So I try to get feedback, and it always comes back to, I'd rather be happy working for you guys than make another 10 grand working and be unhappy at the end of the day. So I'm not sure what you do, but it's, we had to change. It cost us $10,000 more per truck, but we retain employees, and we never have an employee problem on hiring dump truck drivers. But that cost is so offset, and at the end of the day, when I sell my trucks, they're way more valuable than that plain Jane I could have bought. It's no different than vehicles and cars and pickup trucks. So that'd be my answer: is find something in your business that you can change and welcome people and say, look, when you come here, if it's an apron, we're buying the best apron. It's hot, and it's got a magnet for your pen type deal, or it's got pockets. We started Chicago's Pizza with aprons with no pockets. That's a great idea. So because they were the cheapest ones to get. We were already knee deep and spending money, so I was like, hey, these aprons are a deal. Let's get those. And so we got them, and everybody's like, hey, where do we put our stuff? Like a pen and ordering pad? I was like, I don't know. Just carry it, you know? And I was like, nope. You got new aprons coming, guys. They got pockets in them. So it came down to the little things, like, and they're like, and here's the thing. The aprons came in, I forgot about them, and the people wearing them, and then they saw me, hey, I love these aprons. Oh, wow. Like, that was a big deal to you? So
you started out with really crappy stuff.
Really crappy stuff. Yeah, and then bring them up. But no, just the little things, the dump trucks, they're like my shirt, right? They're unique, they're fluorescent, they're bright and shiny, they catch your eye, we keep them clean, we pay extra to do those things to be that company that stands out. And Brooks Paving is in Fort Wayne. And they're a prime contractor, so B&B, Milestone, Brooks, these major players that set the ground rules for us. And Brooks has made the statement over and over, we're the only non-DBE that they have that is their quote-unquote number 2 outside of their DBE company. And they said they absolutely love when they go buy a job and see our trucks in their paper, because they're clean, the drivers know what they're doing. So we get a different caliber of driver, and it looks like it's a great representation. So when they take pictures for their paper or whatever, we were on Fox News 2 years ago with a company in Annapolis, and this is when they were doing, 2 years ago, it was campaign time. They were doing a campaign ad, and this guy that had the infrastructure bill was going out on 47 in Fishers, and they were loading dirt, and there was a line of, I don't know how many trucks, and my younger brother, Caleb, his truck is always just pristine, spotless, right? And he called me, he's like, hey, I'm gonna be on the news. I said, what? He said, I'm serious. He said, they got a TV camera out here, and this was during the pandemic, right? And he said, they got a TV camera out here, they're filming. He said, hang on a minute, they're all running away from my truck. I said, what's going on? He said, oh, they were filming, they realized they didn't have masks on. They're all running back to get their masks and put on for the commercial. So they were filming a infomercial for this campaign. So they ran back and grabbed the mask. But the moral of the story was they started filming, and the guy that was the politician, on you, Greg. The politician said, no, not that truck, that truck. And what he wanted was, he wanted his campaign ad to be seen with my truck in the background. And the company I'm working for had all white trucks, black beds. And she calls me and she says, did you know your truck's on the news? I said, I heard that like 3 weeks ago that it was going to be. She said, yeah, it's in a campaign ad and they're filming it in front of your truck. And I was like, oh. And in that moment I was like, light bulb, I was like, man, they didn't want these other trucks. They wanted that because of what it looked like, the perception that we gave off, and that my driver that day kept his truck clean. So aprons, trucks, whatever it may be, step up to give your employees what they need. And yeah, we're in a really tough time, because should I have to? No, I'm already paying you $33 an hour basically, plus I'm providing insurance for your entire family and your pension. But I do because you're worth it. Because at the end of the day, if all those guys are making money, I'm making money, right? And I tell them all the time when we get those kudos from Brooks, I said, I can go get the work, I can secure it, I can bid the jobs, but if you guys don't go see it through, we lose it. And I said, we never lose jobs. I said, and when we have a Christmas party, I was like, the backbone of the company, the blood life is the drivers and their employees. They're the blood life of what you do, because without them, you don't do anything. So I tell them all the time, like, hey, it isn't me driving the truck anymore. I can't drive anymore and be in the office. I said, you guys are GBT when you're out there. So if you're cursing, we don't allow cursing on the radio and things like that. So then we're known as, hey, those guys don't cuss on the TV. Now I know my guys cuss, I know they do. But I ask them, please don't go on the radio, or people hear you doing it in my truck. So just little things like that, and they give that back to me because they're in a brand new truck and they don't want to leave, they don't want to lose their job. So I don't know if that helps you or not.
Mine's way simpler. I guess with Abby, I just threaten her. That if she ever leaves me, really bad things are going to happen. So so far, it's really worked well. If she ever leaves, I may have to change, but that's so far. I think for us, with the service industry, and for one, nobody works for us. We all work together. We're all there together. And it's simple to say, but it's ask anybody there. And we don't manage people. We lead. And I don't know of anybody that goes, man, I love it. My boss comes in and goes, do this and this and this. And then do it this way, and no, you didn't do it right. I don't know anybody that comes on and says, I just love it when that happens. I mean, so,
Orders are great.
oh, I love it. I mean, it's just, we empower our people. They know way more about it. I mean, anybody that ever comes into my office or calls me and wants to know what's going on, I say, you'll have to talk to Abby. Abby runs my brand, and she knows way more about it than I do. And we believe that. They're better at it than we are. And we have great people around us. They love the culture. It's not a, lunch was over 2 minutes ago, what are you doing? I mean, we don't do that. I mean, yeah, one part. I mean, Because the thing that Matt and I talk about all the time is we know that every one of these people has been there at 6:30 on a Friday, and you know who told them to be there, right? Nobody. They knew what needed done, and they did it. So when they come in at 9:30 instead of 9, I mean, we're right up in the grill, you know? No, they're adults. Treat them like adults. Let them have fun. I mean, they spend so much time there. Why would you make it not fun? I mean, work should be enjoyable. It shouldn't be a I have to go to work. It should be something they look forward to. And I hope they all do to some degree. Maybe not as much as Matt and I, because we're a little off. But, you know, hopefully they enjoy it. And so I think that's it, Curtis. I mean, it's easy to talk about pay. I mean, that's easy. People. That doesn't mean they left to go get better pay. They left because they were unhappy about how they were treated, you know. And so treat them well, pay them well, but treat them well. That will have way more. That'll have way more impact in my opinion.
And I know, because Gabe and I have talked about this a bit, right? So, true example, 4 years ago, pregnant lumber, we had a over 300% turnover. Right? Why did we have that? Because of our company culture. The last 4 years, we've changed it, right? We treated the employee better than the customer. We made sure that we were giving them the tools that had and the empathy, right? We turned that 300% into 30. So my core group stays every day. There's 10% of them that will leave for money. And 5% will come back because they realize that money's not everything. We're still at the bottom, where we're not paying $30 an hour, right? We're paying less than half of that. But our company culture is we feed them, we treat them right. I'm out there, I'm talking to them, right? They understand that they feel cared for. That's the biggest thing that you can do for your employees is make them feel like you care about them as people. They will come in at 6 o'clock. In fact, I was there with a Good Friday off. I was there, two of my county employees was there on Good Friday, making sure that they had their stuff done. That's when you know that you've done something right with the company.
Yeah, Karen.
So I'm going to give a little plug to you guys. So I work for the Small Business Development Center for the state, and we're going to be teaming up with Randolph County United to do like how to build a team. And I think you guys are all hitting the nail on the head, but it starts the first time they walk in the door, right? So some of the things we'll talk about is getting the right people in the right seat from the beginning. And Gabe, you've talked about this a lot. Like when you talk about hiring people with a growth mindset, hiring people that want to be there. The culture, knowing a person's strengths and their opportunities for growth and aligning with your company's values. So we did one on values and mission. And so knowing what your values and mission are so that you can really align with people that you're bringing in, which is probably exactly why people are staying at those places. And we, of course, want all of those people in Randolph County.
And that is going to be May 26th?
Sounds right. In the evening.
In the evening, like
Yeah.
6 to 7:30.
Yeah.
Steve made a good point. You don't care about them as employees, you care about them as people. You know, too many people care about them as employees. That's self-serving. It's what they can do for you. Care about them. You know, Jamie Meadows talks all the time about, you know, most organizations are built on a pyramid like this to where the leaders at the top. You build an organization like this, the leaders at the bottom supporting the people. What can I do to help you? Well, you know, I mean, Carnegie talks about the best way to get what you want in life is open up other people to get what they want. If you go out as a greedy person trying to get, you'll never get. Go out trying to give, you just can't, it'll just can't. And so care about your people as people.
Anybody else questions? No?
I think you're a good politician. I wouldn't make you.
But you're still a politician.
All politicians brings the best.
You're the best. I wasn't trying to spin you.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you to both of you. This was a great way to start a Friday morning. And also, there's plenty of coffee and donuts and so forth over there, so take a cup of coffee with you and take a couple extra donuts. I'm not taking them back to the office.
Yeah, so thanks, OPG donated, and sponsored our donuts and coffee this morning. And also be sure, to drop your business card in the basket. Randolph County United, purchased a Midwest Miss gift card that will give away to a winner from that. So, and you haven't been there, what is it? Oh, and then we have after hours, which is another, yes, May 5th. You can just say it, man. After hours is for Randolph County United members. It's just a time to network and kind of socialize. It's just a social event that we've started doing quarterly. And our next one is going to be at Tarter Realty on May 5th, which is Cinco de Mayo, if you don't know, like Paul. And they're having tacos and margaritas. So it should be a fun event to be able to hang out with other